What is up, everybody? It's your boys at Franchise Tag Fantasy Football back again for another podcast. They covered the AFC North last episode. Today, Brennan, we're going to be covering the AFC East. As always, guys, go jump over if you need real fantasy football advice to Fantasy Football Advice Forum. There's real people just like you and I who go in there. They give comments, they rate trades, they do all the cool stuff that you want to do. Interface is pretty dang good too. So jump over there, see what it's all about. But yeah, news and notes, Brendan. There was a big piece of news that dropped today. When you guys are seeing this, it'll be a couple days old. But the big news today is the Vikings unable to find a trade partner for Dalvin Cook. They have officially released Dalvin Cook.
It feels like it's like the fifth time they've released him.
Right.
Is it not?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've just been like waiting for this. It's like, oh, now it's finally happened. But yeah, I mean, they officially tweeted it from their Twitter, had a little thank you note to him, which, sucks. I think they could have gotten one more season out of him, but I also think there's some underlying thing with it as well. I think that, now Danielle Hunter, their top pass rushers, and, news for being traded too. So like, I don't know if they know they need to go through a rebuild now or what their circumstances are, but I'm very curious where he's going to go and what backfield he's going to jack up, because he's not going to go somewhere. And I can't think of a team right now where he'd go and be like, oh yeah, he immediate impact RB1, fringe RB2 status. I can't think of a team like that.
I cannot either. I'm interested to see what happens for Alexander Madison because it's early enough in draft season.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to see how far up boards he actually gets pushed.
I think he kind of just swapped with Dalvin Cook, honestly. Maybe not like in the same area. So like Dalvin Cook's going around like the 33rd overall pick, but like I can see him being a top 40 pick just because of the uncertainty. And they made the comments yesterday of him being a 3-down back. So I could see him being in that like first 4 rounds, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that too. Anything else for news? D-Hop hasn't signed yet.
No, he's visiting the Titans, and I think he's at the Patriots today or sometime soon. So be very, very interesting going from these comments of I want a top 5 quarterback to Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, that's a little weird to me.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, especially because the Cardinals have paid pretty much all of his salary. He's pretty much free.
Yeah. So now it's a bidding war of how much more money he can get, I guess. Which I mean, if he wants money, by all means, go get your money. I'm not gonna
knock you for that.
Yeah.
Either. So, but that's it for news, huh?
Yep.
All right, so we can jump into the AFC East now. My personal opinion, this might be rivaling one of the best divisions in football.
I agree. I think you can make an argument that any of these teams are a playoff team except for one. I think there's one like outlier team, but I think they there's also they have one of the greatest coaches of all time. So
in case you guys aren't tracking, he's talking about the Patriots.
This is true.
So, all right, AFC East up first. We'll start with the New York Jets. Yep. Their current Vegas line is set to 9.5 wins.
Yeah.
The division being as it is, and they play the AFC West this year too.
I think so.
I do believe so. That's a good line. I might take the over by half a game. I think they can get to 10.
Yeah, I was very intrigued by that when I saw that line. I was like, oh, 9.5. Like I immediately wanted to hit the over like right away. I was like, oh, and then like, but you got to think there's 3 other teams that have their over wins and overs. So, but I do like it. I do think this team could be 10-7. I think that's a real possibility. But this team last season was a definition of a QB away from competing last season. And that's what they did this offseason. They just happened to trade for quite possibly one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game, Aaron Rodgers. It only cost them a swap at the first rounds this season and what could potentially be a first next year if Rodgers plays more than 70% of the snaps. I like how that's becoming more of a thing. 70% of snaps is what everyone's doing now for like these players like Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, all that other stuff. I mean, they went and got Rodgers all of his friends, Alan Lazard, and could potentially add Randall Cobb too. That's he's got to bring all his buds over. He's getting them jobs too. So
that's fair. He's like the Adam Sandler of football.
Exactly. He is the Adam Sandler of football. It's a pretty good comparison. I mean, going through this team, they're expected to be a higher scoring offense with Rodgers, and rightfully so. I honestly think Garrett Wilson is slightly undervalued. I think his skill set is that of a potential top 5 player in this league, and him going at pick 27, so an early third for someone who could be a top 5 wide receiver is a steal. That's who I'm primarily targeting off this team if I can in drafts get him.
Yep. It's pretty much him and Breece Hall. Take Rodgers late in a 2-quarterback league for a second quarterback or third quarterback, but yeah. So
So you're over. You're on the over for their wins.
Yeah, but I think like you, I think 10 is probably my max there.
Yeah, I think 10-7 is the perfect line for them. I mean, would you feel comfortable as Aaron Rodgers your QB1 though this season or no?
Oh, maybe if you want to draft a rookie and see how they show up, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young.
So he's going before Geno Smith and sleeper. What I'm looking at, he's a little bit before Geno, and then Russell, and then who's before him? Looks like Deshaun Watson. Oh, sorry, Tua. I'm sorry, Kirk Cousins. It's and Daniel Jones. So it's like Tua, Daniel Jones, all those quarterbacks right there. Do you have him like higher or lower than most?
I would take Tua over Rodgers.
Okay.
And then I think Kirk Cousins and him are a coin flip. Ask me one day, it might be one for fantasy purposes only, not real quarterbacking, not real play in the NFL. It's also the unknown that scares me a little bit. But like with Tua and Kirk Cousins, you at least know what you're getting into. But it's the unknown for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I think he's going to be good. So it'd probably go Tua just because two great wide receivers, upside potential. Then Aaron Rodgers, then Kirk Cousins. Then who'd you say? Daniel Jones for rushing potential after that.
Yeah.
Geno, then Russell would be last, definitely out of that 5-pack.
Yeah. Daniel. Yeah. I would say the same. I think I probably have Aaron a little lower. A little lower than the others, but I think they're all kind of meshed right there. I don't think there's like one highly over the other.
I agree. All right, up next in this division, the New England Patriots. Their current total is set to 7.5, and honestly, if they don't get D-Hop, I'm probably taking the under.
It's so weird because like immediately thought I was just like, oh, the under. Like this team is awful, and like it's weird to count out Bill Belichick, but like they weren't good last season. But there's some reasons for that. Like this team was abysmal last season. Mac Jones deserves some blame for his poor play, but honestly, Bill deserves more. That's my honest opinion. I think having a defensive coordinator who got fired from the Lions for being just a shitty head coach and trying him out as an offensive coordinator was a disaster from the get-go.
Yep.
They hired Bill O'Brien as a play caller, which honestly is a great hire in my opinion. I think his time at Alabama, he was a great offensive coordinator, and he was actually a really, really good play caller for the Texans. He was just a very shitty GM head coach at the time.
Yep.
But he can call plays, and that will be his only job in New England. They had some good additions this season. They got Mike Gesicki and they got Juju, and obviously now there's in the news of getting D-Hop. But I think the value pick on this team is Juju. Getting him at pick 100, which is the 8th round. So for 3 wide receiver leagues, it could be your potential 3rd wide receiver, or the typical leagues where you're on 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, and just having him as a bench piece and could be a nice, PPR machine for New England. I do like Juju going into the season. I think he's a little lower than he should be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the boat in the camp of if Juju's not the number 2 on the team, then Juju's not worth it.
Yeah. So like, I'm giving you some people that are around him. So he's got, obviously the rookies are ahead of him. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, Kadarius Toney, and then Gabe Davis are all right where he's at. Mm-hmm. So I think the rookies I think Jordan Addison's a little higher than most. I think he's going to take some time. I don't think he's a guaranteed right off the rip, the wide receiver 2. So I have him lower than most. JSN's interesting. I don't know if Geno can support all 3 wide receivers. I think JSN's elite, though. I think he can take that leap. But Cortland Sutton looks washed, and Kadarius Toney, I mean, who knows what the Chiefs are going to do. So I actually like Juju here where he's at.
Yeah. You said there was one more around him. Who else? Gabe Davis?
Yeah, Gabe Davis is right behind Kadarius Toney.
Give me one more heave at Gabe Davis this year over Juju, and then if it doesn't happen this year, I'm out. Yep.
I think Gabe Davis
is truther.
Are you?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a bad boat to be in right now.
Yeah, it's a really bad boat to be in right now. I was going to say like we're about to get talk with the Bills, so I'll wait for that talk.
Bad boat to be in right now, but yeah. All right. So yes, I do think New England finishes last in this division. I know you're not supposed to root against Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick also doesn't have Tom Brady anymore. Mm-hmm. And everyone was talking about which came first, the chicken or the egg. So with those two, so I think it's kind of point proven that neither one of them really realized what they had until it was gone. Yeah, Brady won a Super Bowl the following year. I understand that. Awesome. Woo! But then he had
roster. He had an amazing roster.
Yeah, he had an amazing roster, an amazing play caller, and Bruce Arians, who wasn't afraid to push it down the field. And then, as you saw, he should have stayed retired because he came back to just be
very meh.
Yeah, man, that's
He
the best
still
way to
threw the
put it.
most. He still threw the most passes though, or pass attempts. I think last season,
Yep,
right?
he
This
did.
is crazy.
So, yeah, his whole time in Tampa, he threw the most pass attempts. And
Yeah.
so, but anyways, up next we have the Miami Dolphins. This team, I think, is on the up and up. I feel like most people feel that way, and their current win total is also set to 9.5, just like the Jets.
Hmm.
This is where rubber meets the road and stuff gets wishy-washy at the same time, which is kind of a conundrum because I don't really think that you should be able to make the rubber meet the road and be wishy-washy. But with three teams at over 9.5 projected win totals
Yeah.
in the division, it's gonna come down. If everything's happening like Vegas thinks it's gonna happen, it's gonna come down to one of the three teams in this division need other people to lose throughout the AFC in order to make it to the wild card.
Hmm.
So I don't know where I'm at on Miami's win total yet.
I have the over. I'm a Miami believer this year. I think this
I
team
think I am
goes.
too. I think they go 11-6.
Yeah, I think they win this division. Honestly, I think.
That's
Yeah, and you're.
spicy.
All right. Let me. This team is going to go as far as long as Tua doesn't get concussed. I think we both can agree to that.
Yes.
Before Tua had his concussions and Clay wasn't playing right, they were 8-3. Mike McDaniels is a hell of a coach and amazing play caller. So I'm all in on this team being a dark horse for this upcoming season. They had some really nice additions this offseason and getting Jalen Ramsey for peanuts, and then they got a speedy receiver back in the draft of Devon Achane. And obviously now Dalvin Cook being cut, he's made it very clear that Miami is a target for him to go to, and he clutter up that backfield. But it's another talented player going to the team to help him out. It's not like a negative. He's a positive for that team because backfield of Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert and now Devon Achane. I think Dalvin Cook's better than Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. He still has. I think he's got one more season left in the tank, and I think this is it for him.
Yep.
So yeah, going through this team and finding value isn't easy though. I think Tyreek is a first rounder and rightfully so. Jalen Waddle's a second rounder and also rightfully so. So as far as getting, their current, so getting value is really weird. So as it sits right now, if Dalvin Cook doesn't go to this team, getting the current RB1 at this pick, which is the 11th round, and if you don't believe in if you don't believe in Raheem Mostert being the starter, because if you look at their depth chart, it shows Raheem Mostert, then Jeff Wilson. And you think Jeff Wilson's going to be it, he's at pick 154. So I understand it's slim pickings between those two, but those are my value picks as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Another dark horse as far as value is Tua. He's going as a QB 11 in most drafts around pick 102. And I think he's got the potential to be a top 8 quarterback. I'm stretching it thin. I get it. I'm trying to find you guys value here, but I do believe in Tua, and I'm part of the Tua-non this season. So, and the quarterbacks that are going ahead of him typically are Dak, Lawrence, Watson, Herbert, and Fields. And there's a world where I think Tua can outscore all 5 of those quarterbacks. He's put up numbers. So there's a world where I can see him being ahead of all those guys. It's not crazy.
Yeah. It's not crazy to think. I definitely could see him being ahead of Watson and Fields and Dak from this list, I think.
Yeah. And that's where he's at. You top 8. That's where I'm saying you can pick 3 quarterbacks for the list. And Herbert obviously had a bad year last year, but we expect him to bounce back. And Fields is that, unknown. He's a potential rusher, but Tua can put up, he can win you leagues. So
especially if you get a Tua Tyreek or Tua
exactly.
Jalen,
If you do reach that,
and they have one of those shootout weeks like they had against the Bills where it's 42-42 going into the fourth. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, he gets I'm laughing because he gets a lot of hate from a lot of people. People say he's not a good quarterback. He's not this. Number one, it throws him off because he's left-handed. So his mechanics, it looks like it's off to him.
Mm-hmm.
Not the most strong arm. I will admit that. I think he's got a cap of I joke and say 48, 49 yards. But when you have, this is why football teams are built. When you have good weapons, all you need to do is be able to execute the play call.
Yeah. And you just
Jimmy G in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Jared Goff in LA when they went to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You just have to be able to execute the plays.
And utilize what they can do to the fullest. And that's what Mike McDaniels is doing. He's utilizing him to the fullest of what he can do. And he does it very, very well. So that's just, yeah. So I think Tua can do it.
I think that they'll be a contender if he stays healthy all year, like you said. Mm-hmm. Last but not least in the AFC East, we have the Buffalo Bills. This team's over-under is set to 10.5.
Yes.
I really hope they get a wide receiver 2 or something of a wide receiver 2 this year.
So D-Hop?
that or Dalton Kincaid actually becomes a thing or something, or Khalil Shakir steps out of the shadows.
It's interesting.
Or Gabe Davis actually does what Gabe Davis was supposed to do, like the last 2 years in fantasy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think their win total jumped up too just recently. I think it's at 11 and a half now. I could be wrong. We'll have to double check that.
I would take the under on that one, but the over on
Yeah.
10.5.
So this team had aspirations last season of being Super Bowl champs and had every right to think that, but they finished 13-3. So I know you're talking about the win totals and everything else like that, but I think Josh Allen's injury was a little more serious than people thought. I think he played through a pretty serious injury from what it sounded like. And going into the season, they had a decent offseason. They added Damian Harris, signed two really good offensive linemen, and then drafted the best receiving tight end in the draft, Dalton Kincaid. I think he's got the potential to be, something special, but I don't think it's going to be this season. I think, rookie tight ends typically don't come into fruition right away. Kyle Pitts was kind of an anomaly. He's fourth overall and had 1,000 yards. So it's very rare you see that. But getting value from this team isn't so easy. Diggs is obvious first rounder. Josh Allen is now going in the second round because everyone sees the obvious advantage of it is to have a top quarterback. Gabe Davis didn't take that leap. They were hoping he would, and I wouldn't take him in the 8th round. Like we were just talking about it recently. He's fallen down my draft boards. I think there's more upside in other players than him. You see what he's very boomer bust in my opinion. He's that 65-yard touchdown week, or it's 2 receptions for 35 that you saw it all last season.
Yep.
My value pick is Damian Harris going at pick 117. They didn't draft a running back. Most expected Cook to carve out a bigger role going into this year, but I think you put on running backs and they're trying to find some running backs late. He's a perfect candidate for the potential 0 RB strategy. Now, my dart throw, we just mentioned it, is Khalil Shakir, where he's basically going undrafted, pick 233. I think Khalil Shakir can make a bigger step going into the season.
Yeah, they need someone to step up as a number 2 wide receiver. That's what they need.
They need. I'm really surprised that they didn't make a push for something. I understand that Dalton Kincaid is, he's a receiving threat, but it's also you don't know if he will be good. I feel like they're in this window of like, you have it at Josh Allen, you have it at Stephon Diggs. You just paid Von Miller a ton of money. Like you might as well double down and just say go for it.
Who'd have been a great fit this offseason who's a free agent to Buffalo?
Odell?
Juju.
Yeah, I think
he could be the number 2. He could run the slot. You could still keep Gabe Davis on the outside, but
even Jacoby Myers taken away from the Patriots. I think just like someone that's competent. I feel like, and I'm not saying that Gabe Davis isn't competent, but
he disappears too much too quick.
Yeah, and so the Bills can win a Super Bowl. I'm saying that, and I'm not saying they can't, but like I think the Dolphins made the better moves going into the season than the Bills did.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else on that one?
Nah, I got nothing else.
All right, guys, leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think about these divisions, what you think the win totals will be for these teams. As always, please leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, we will see you later.